Any financial system is like a house of cards. As a whole, the pyramid is stable as long as the cards remain in their place. But if you make any surprise moves, if you try making too many changes all at once, more often than not, the pyramid collapses. Something similar is happening to the global economy. Already the structure was wobbling a bit. The pandemic and the war in Ukraine added instability to the pyramid, that is the global economy. And now the actions of some major economies, the so-called drivers of the global economy, could further complicate things. On Gravitas tonight, we will tell you how. Let's start off with the oil prices. They could spike again in the near future. The OPEC Plus, the major group of oil producers, is ready to cut production. What is the OPEC Plus? This is a group of 23 oil-producing countries. It includes all the major oil exporters in the world. Critics of this alliance call the OPEC Plus a cartel, since they actively regulate how much oil is sent to the market. They review their supply every month and then decide to what extent they want to open the oil taps. This is what eventually sets the price. So what is the OPEC Plus planning this time around? They want to supply less oil to the market. A meeting happened today. A cut of 2 million barrels a day has been recommended. That means the OPEC Plus will be supplying 2 million barrels less every day. How will this impact the market? How does that dictate what everyone pays for oil? It's simple economics. If there is more supply, the prices will go down. When there is less supply, oil prices are bound to rise. That is the goal of a production cut. The price of one barrel is around $85. With these cuts, the aim is to get the prices to go up to $90 per barrel, an increase of $5. So what will be the consequences of rising prices? You might know this already. People like you and I might need to pay more when we fill up our tanks. Budgets of countries around the world will feel additional strain, since they will be forced to spend more to buy oil from the global markets. Such fluctuations are not new, so they shouldn't come as a surprise. And often governments around the world plan for any major swings in the oil prices. But there is another kind of fluctuation that experts are worried about: the interest rates. Central banks around the world are raising them. We have told you about this before. Global inflation was getting out of hand after the invasion of Ukraine. So in recent months, central banks have raised the interest rates. And these interest rates dictate the rates at which the banks lend the money to the customers. They also impact your fixed deposits. The purpose to raise these rates is to calm down inflation. How? By reducing the availability of easy money within the economy. I know what you must be thinking. Isn't that a good thing? If raising interest rates can tame inflation, what is the harm? Well, you are right. There is no problem with central banks raising interest rates if inflation can be contained. The problem begins when you overdo it. Last night, we had told you about a report from a UN agency, the UN Conference on Trade and Development. It is concerned about the adverse impact of raising interest rates. This UN agency also looked into the rate hikes by the US Federal Reserve, that is the Central Bank of America. And according to this report, the rate hikes in America could have a damaging impact on the global economy. Here's how. The report from the UN has put out some estimates. Let me paint some scenarios for you. What will happen if the US Fed raises the interest rate by 1 percentage point? Economic output in the poor countries will stall. And the impact of this will not just be immediate. It will probably last for years. Economic output in the developing world will reduce by almost 1%. And this will be spread out over 3 years. This scenario, what I just described for you, was part of the UN report. In September, the Fed announced a hike of 0.75 percentage point. So that scenario may have already become a reality in some form. The developing world has started to lose investments. The interest rate hikes by the US Fed strengthened the dollar. Other global currencies have gotten weaker as a result. This depreciation has forced many investors to pull out money from the emerging economies. There might be a tendency to dismiss these developments, considering how small these values might seem to most of us. 1 percentage point, does that really matter in the long run? Well, then let me tell you this, even such small fluctuations could mean losses worth billions. The UN report has more estimates. Consider this, the US Fed rate hikes could have already reduced economic output in the developing world. By how much? $360 billion over 3 years. Needless to say, more rate hikes will do more harm. The US Fed might not be done yet. There could be more interest rate hikes in the future. That is the prediction of the International Monetary Fund.
We are likely to see an impact on unemployment going up, and that will be the time for the Fed to say, we have done our job, we can ease in the future. We are not there yet.
Now, don't get us wrong here. The US Fed is well within its rights to raise interest rates if that is what they need to do to contain and control inflation. But inflation today is a global problem. The global economy is in a precarious position. The uncertainty, the fluctuations in the markets, and the recession fears impact all of us. What's missing today is a united response to this problem. But considering the broken nature of geopolitics today, a global response to this crisis might be too much to expect. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.